رمضان بازی برای سلامتی همه خدمتگزاران all those who are helping and serving volunteers لسید الصلاة على محمد و آل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين، سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: والذين يؤذون المؤمنين والمؤمنات بغير ما اكتسبوا فقد احتملوا بهتانا وإثما مبينا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the honor of the Messenger of Allah, for the honor of his family, his progeny, Ahlul Bayt, recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. At the time and age that we live, it's very easy to get distracted and forget very basic but very important concepts and rules in life. We talk about a lot of details, we talk about a lot of specific topics and conversations that we have. But at the same time, we see that on daily basis, we forget very straightforward, direct concept that we have to apply to our daily lives. We live at the age that everything we do is being recorded most of the time. When you call, companies, they tell you, they remind you that we let you know that probably or definitely our conversation is being recorded. Surveillance is something very common in every corner. But at the same time, honesty becomes a rare commodity to find. Trickery, deceit, hypocrisy still exist. That's why that sometimes we have to talk about fundamentals. There are reminders. There's no they're not new information. And I believe that the more and more I interact with people and I look at my own life, it's become evident and clear to me that it's not about new things that we don't know. It's not about our lack of knowledge that leads to so many problems and so many bad decisions. Rather, it's about lack of application of what we already know. That's why I've seen people said, we need new lectures, new topics, which is good. I'm not against that. It's, as a human being, we don't like repetition. We like variety, differences, new things. That's why there's something that today we have a term for it, but probably 50 years ago people didn't have a word for it. And that is a form of addiction, right? And we call shopaholics, right? People who have addiction to shopping. There are studies that shows that there's actually a psychological cycle before somebody making an online shopping decision. There's a release of endorphin when they click buy, and buying things that you don't even need. They try to understand the details, the mechanism behind it. That's why at this very technologically advanced age that we live in, the basics, unfortunately, are getting ignored by me and people like me. And as human beings, we have that creativity, we have that ability to adapt. So there is surveillance, but there's a way to go around it, to find loopholes. So I said this introduction to come to the topic of tonight, which is a basic topic. But unfortunately, it's very, very common amongst communities. It's unfortunately become a disease, a cancer within families. The ayah, the verse I recited from Surah number 33, Surah Ahzab, the beginning of it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know the famous ayah, right? Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi, which is a verse Allah is asking, commanding the believers to send blessing on the Prophet of God. And He says, I'm the one doing it myself. When it comes to prayers, Allah doesn't say, I pray, you pray, right? When it comes to fasting, Allah doesn't say, I fast, so you fast. But this is the one of the, I can say the only or one of the few verses that Allah said, I'm the one doing it myself, performing it myself, applying it, now you do it. And that is salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It shows the importance of this. Indeed, Allah and His angels bless the Prophet, send blessing to Prophet. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. But right after this verse, Allah talks about an important subject, and that is the subject of adhiyat or adhiyah, which means hurting and bothering others. Hurting others, causing any form of harm to others. And then Allah talks about the consequences of that. You know the word la'an, la'anat or la'an, which means curse in English, but the proper translation of it is that when you ask Allah to remove His mercy from someone. When you say la'anatullah, means, oh God, they don't deserve your mercy. Take your mercy away from them. That's what it means. Because the word curse in English is a very vague word. It covers also disrespectful words and statement. But the word la'an in Arabic is not a curse. As I said, it specifically means you pray to God to remove His mercy because this individual, they don't deserve your mercy. And Allah used it in Quran. In opposite of a lot of people who say, oh, in Quran Allah did not use la'an. He did. And one of the places is here in this chapter. Then Allah said, anybody who causes harm to others, they are dealing with la'an. Allah said, I will remove my mercy from them. And the type of harms Allah talks about it. So this harm could be physical. You physically harm someone. And then Allah talks about even mental harm. Because in marriage, a lot of people said, you know, some people talk about abuse, right? We talk about abuse, and a lot of people talk about physical abuse, which is unacceptable. But sometimes people say, no, it's not a physical abuse, it's a mental abuse. And so what do you mean by that? I said, their tongue, their words are hurtful. So it's not a big deal. They're not, if they're not hitting you, that should not be a big deal. But Islam says, no, it's a big deal. Because literally the word of Quran is that it could be a verbal and mental abuse. That's a form of harm as well. The ayah says, وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بِغَيْرِ مَا اكْتَسَبُوا. Those who bother, they harm the believers, men or women, with accusing them of something that they didn't do. بِغَيْرِ مَا اكْتَسَبُوا. It's something that they did not earn. They didn't do it. فَقَدْ احْتَمَلُوا بُهْتَانًا. What they do to these people is that they have to now carry a burden of an accusation. They have to answer for something that they didn't do. They have to defend themselves for a crime that they didn't do. So this is ithman mubina. This is a clear and a very significant sin that somebody can commit, to accuse someone. So the word in Quran is buhtan. Buhtan means accusation. Why the word buhtan is being used? The literal meaning of buhtan is confusion. The word buhtan in Arabic, when somebody's confused, clueless, that's what the word is. Why they use it for accusation is because that's what the state of mind for somebody who's accused. When somebody's accused of something they didn't do, what does the first thing come to their mind? Why me? I didn't do anything. They're confused at why they're being labeled or accused of something. Another word is tuhmah. Tuhmat or tuhmah, which literally means when you create falsehood, when you create problem. And that means why they use it for accusation, because that's what accusation does. Create mistrust, create problems, create unnecessary hassle for someone. And that is why it's so important to talk about this basic thing, about people's right. That causing harm to others, even verbally, you never even, pick up your hand or raise your hand against them, but verbally you caused harm to them. How? You accuse them of a sin. You accuse them of the, God forbid, dishonorable act. And unfortunately in marriage people do it. In some marriages, and I've heard people say it. And when you tell them, my sister, my brother, did you say this? That, yeah, I was angry. I didn't mean it. And I say, how you even let yourself to go to that, to advance in that level? To accuse your own husband or your wife of something so despicable. So it's very important to know about this. And the amount of damage that this could cause to our iman. Accusation, tuhma, buhtan. So what is buhtan and accusation? Is to say something directly or indirectly. Indirectly. So sometimes we can accuse someone without saying a word. Right? Somebody come to you and they ask, how is this guy or how is this family? And you don't say a word, and this is all you do. You didn't say a word, but this body language itself has a lot to say, and that's a form of accusation. Or don't ask me, it's better for me to stay quiet. Or I don't want to make problems. These statements, although it seems that they are neutral, they have meaning. And Quran talks about this, that any form of accusation you will be held accountable for. There's a tradition which is shocking. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam narrate this tradition, that when somebody accused someone, a mu'min and a believer, a person, and I say why a mu'min, we specifically say mu'min, because the honor of a mu'min has much more significance than any other person. Not that the other people's honor doesn't matter, still matters, but a mu'min, the significance and the magnitude of his importance is much higher. Because for somebody who's not a mu'min, they don't even care what you accuse them of. If somebody, they don't believe in, let's say, halal relationship, they sleep around, they do whatever they want, it doesn't matter for them to what to say about them. But for somebody who, modesty is an important principle in their life, if you accuse them of something, they have a big price to pay for. That's why a mu'min has a much more significance in these traditions. So the tradition said if you accuse a mu'min, if you cause them harm, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the person who's accuser, he will not be under my supervision and guardianship anymore. He's out of my wilayat. The tradition said, Allah said, go and be under the supervision, the guardianship of shaitan. And shaitan likes any outcast that God doesn't want. But even shaitan doesn't accept an accuser. And the tradition says, shaitan says, I don't even want people who accuse others. Imagine how messed up somebody has to be for not even shaitan accept you in his party. This is tuhuma's weight and damage that can cause. What is the reason people end up accusing others? Number one is because blaming others is always an easy escape, right? It's always easy to blame others for your mistakes or for your own crime. It wasn't me. So when you say it wasn't me, the next sentence is usually, so who did it? If it wasn't you, a liar usually said that because they don't want to be investigated, they don't want to answer questions, what is the best way to distract people? Let's shift their attention to someone else. It wasn't me, it was that person. So that's number one, a selfish reason behind accusation. To blame others for what you've done. Second is jealousy. We don't want to see other people do better than us. For some reason, it's not part of our nature to be accepting of others' success. The smaller the soul is, the jealousy is it's much stronger. Why them? Why not me? And the third reason is suspicion. Doubt. You accuse someone when there is suspicion. And in all the three factors, major factors of accusations, there are solutions offered by people. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our religion also, He instructed certain rules to follow in order to avoid accusation. So for number one, which is blaming others for your sin, for your crime, for your mistake, the solution of Islam is very simple. Truthfulness. It's bitter, it's not pleasant, but that's what the true taste of Iman is about. Truthfulness. Let me be clear. If you lie to your wife, if you lie to your husband, find anything to go around it. You're not living a truthful life. That's it. And you will eventually have to pay the price for it. The greater problem is that when people try to justify their lack of honesty in the name of Islam. So in Islam, I shouldn't answer for this or that. I'm a man, I'm a woman, this is nothing to do with you. They try to use religion as an excuse to justify their lies. That becomes even a bigger problem. Because now that person's issue is not only with you, because when you do that you don't absolve yourself from the crime, from the lies. Now you added religion on as a partner in crime, and now God forbid they start having skepticism about your religion as well. So you didn't solve a problem, you added an additional, a new problem. The truthfulness. It's bitter, but I've heard it so many times. At our time, at the time that we live, is not possible for people to lie, to live a truthful life. I've heard it. So Sheikh, if you go in business, if you do this, you have to lie. You cannot say the truth. Which again, I still have a problem with understanding that. Yes, probably you cannot find a shortcut to make a lot of money in a short amount of time, but I'm pretty sure with a truthful lifestyle, you can make a living. Not a luxurious life with getting, wasting a lot of money on your daily life, but you can take care of your life with a truthful lifestyle. For the second one, for jealousy, is also the solution is offered. The solution to jealousy is humility, humbleness. Because arrogant people are jealous because you want to be the one on the top. You want to be the guy, the person. Right? When you are arrogant, you don't want anybody else to be above you. But when you're humble, you don't care. Anybody, wherever they are, is not an issue with you. So humility is the cure for jealousy. How to do it? Quran gives so many details. Islam gives so many small things. I'm not one of those people that says, okay, be humble and magically you're going to become humble. I know that's not the case. Islam's give you the detail. If you want the blueprint how to become humble, there's a list. How? Honor your parents. That's how the way you show humility. How? Don't look for a shallow lifestyle of luxury and just caring for other people's opinion. How? Perform your prayers. Be humble before God. How? Listen much more than you talk. As you become humble. And there's so many other tips in Islam that says if you do this and this and this, all this leads to you become more humble. Not magically I'm going to think from tomorrow I will be humble. It's not going to work like that. Or every decision, every word, every move leads to a more humble person or a more arrogant person. We rarely are static people. We're moving in either positive or negative direction. So don't take the rules of our religion, the advice and tips of our imams and the Prophet lightly. So if they said do it this way, there is a reason. There's not just one benefit from doing this. There's so many benefits that it leads to the person who you are. Eventually you get it. Because all those things, if you remember when you were a teenager, you were asking why I should do this, why I should do that. And now when you finish college and you get a job, some of those reasons become much more evident and clear. Oh, that's why. I didn't know it then, but I know now. They were telling me to sleep early and wake up this time. There was a benefit. At that time, I didn't get it. It was a cruel rule for me. It happens in the rules of Islam as well. That was the second cause, or let's say the disease, and then the solution of Islam for it. What was the last one? The last reason, I mentioned three of them that leads to accusation, right? One of them was blaming others, scapegoat, right? That was one. Second one was jealousy. What was the third one? No, I mentioned that as an example. Somebody said it. Suspicion. اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم. Dhan is suspicion. When you think somebody is wrong, when you have some ideas, or I know it, all these are suspicion. And suspicion is usually something that we justify, right? We have an excuse for it. Or this person, they've done something in the past. You've heard this statement, all men are like this, right? You've heard? Men are like this, women are like this, Muslims are like this, people religious. These are all suspicions. Why? Because one person, two people, 100 people did it, now we think everybody's like that. Everybody's like that. And Quran says stay away from suspicion. Why? Because until you don't have proof. This, you've heard it in the law when it comes to one of those probably few words we know, when it comes to the court system and when it comes to law enforcement. What is it? Innocent until proven guilty, right? That's the rule that is basically a very, very straightforward, intuitive rule of human being. Every person is innocent until you have a reason, until you have a proof for it. Of course, they changed it. There's so many amendments to that. There's so many acts, as you know it, right? This act, that they undermine this. You're guilty until you prove you're not, right? Since 2001, a lot of those rules applies to people that they have the same color as me and you. But the basic of it was, okay, somebody's innocent until proven guilty. And suspicion is exactly opposite. Suspicion is that you know this person is guilty. You don't have any proof. I'm going to gather and collect proof to prove my suspicion. right? That's why we see people checking each other's phone. They start telling them. They start asking questions. You know, some of these are just disasters in relationships. I've heard people in front of guests, they ask the husband or wife, one of them ask, where have you been? Or who was it? Who were you talking on the phone? And then they say this person. Then this is in front of strangers or family members or guests. And they said, okay, let me call, basically redial to prove it. And they said, Sheikh, you live at a very bad time. You have to take care of your family. So what do you mean? He said, you have to hold on to them. And I said, what are you doing? Do you think this creates trust? Do you think this creates trust? How this is going to be a helpful way of looking at your life? But people do it because they think the way they do things are much better than anyone else. They've heard it or they've tried, and that's the way they do it. Suspicion. What's the solution for suspicion? I tell you what to do. Number one, stay occupied and busy. If you don't have anything to do, suspicion comes. Because you have nothing else to focus on, you focus on something too much. Even if you stare at a wall for a long period of time, you find something wrong with it, I promise you. So stay busy. In Islam, in our religion, it teaches us to use your time efficiently. When I say occupy yourself, I don't mean just pray. Do something. Their tradition divided: exercise, read a book, go see some family members, try to do some financial decision, make some money, do whatever you do, but occupy yourself in a halal way, in a lawful, permissible way. Same thing for young people when they said, there are a lot of temptations and thoughts come to my mind, and then I get tempted to do this, listen to that, watch that. And I say, stay busy. Stay busy. If you get bored of something, let's say if your studying is just too much, eventually temptation find their way, change it, switch. Go start running, play something, do something. And that's why suspicion comes. When you are effortless, do nothing, then it's fine its place. Because usually people are not exactly the same. Some people, again, they have tendencies towards something more than others. And that's the way people are. We're not the same. They use this example, and you look at our hands, they're not all of, our fingers are the same size and shape. People are not the same way. And we should not say, why this person is more suspicious than that person. People are the way they are. Some people, when they're alone, they start creating negative thoughts. Some people, they even sabotage their happiness. Everything is going well, and then when they're alone and they have nothing to do, they said, what if this is all a sham? What if this person behind my back, they're doing something? And there's what if, and then you see this person created a problem out of the thin air. Out of nothing, they create a problem. And they say, Sheikh, not every time is like that. We know people who was something. It was not a thin air, it was something. But they were blind to see it. And I say, let's assume you're right, and there is something and you didn't know. What you could have done about it, do that. Prevent it, rather than finding it out and then eventually end that relationship and end that marriage and end that family. Try to focus on the prevention. So let's say when we talk about flu is here, what if I catch that flu? With coronavirus around and everybody now is a new fear. Every year there's something, right? You remember swine flu and all that? There's something. And this is what if I get this? What if that happens? And these what ifs, rather say, okay, this is the solution. How you can avoid it. What are the chances of you, dealing with this problem or not? So that's another issue. Suspicion. Solution for suspicion. Number one, what was it? Occupy yourself with good things. Don't say I have nothing to do. There's always there's something to do. But make sure your efforts are fruitful. Don't waste your efforts. Because I've heard people, I said, keep yourself busy. And then I know people, especially, let's say, they're very, very hardworking mothers at home. And when it comes to the time of occupying themselves, what they do? Waswas. Right? Compulsive disorders. They do the same thing over and over and over, then become a new problem. So Sheikh said, keep busy, And then I have to say, no, that's not what I meant. I meant efforts and works that are fruitful, not doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. You washed it once, you cleaned it once, and that's it. Move on. There are other stuff to focus and put your energy. Not doing the same thing because in your mind now you have dealing with another problem. So, a clear goal, clear objective for you to follow. And there is a second one. And the second one, the solution for suspicion, is to stay away from suspicious people. And I promise you that is very hard. Because some people, especially the older we get, it's very difficult to change people. Somehow there's some individuals in every community, in every culture you find them. I don't believe in naturally born. This is just as a humor. Don't take my word for it. But it's like that they were born Sherlock Holmes for some reason, right? They investigate everything. They were not born like that, but again, it become part of their personality. They sit down, and I've seen them. They sit down and they watch everything. And then after they leave, they have information of every detail around them. As a joke in Persian culture, they used to say, and even that in my mind seemed very creepy. So, you remember when in-laws used to go for a proposal to the girl's house? They used to check under the carpet. If you're not familiar with the Persian culture, this is a new thing you learn. So the future mother-in-law would go for their son. So they go to the bride's house, the future bride, the candidate. And then they check under the carpet. Why? So if there is dust, they would come to conclusion that this bride is lazy. Right? I'm saying, even today there's some cases, modern time. Imagine how much investigative work has to be done. That you have to wait for the right time that the host is not there for you to check that. And then you quickly check it and then you come to that decision. Okay, thank you so much. We will let you know what happened. And said, okay, we're not coming in. Why? There was some dust under the carpet. Some people are like that. From the way the men take off their shoes, oh, I know something is wrong. I've heard it. Oh, the way this guy looks at people, I know something. We have palm readers, right? People who claim that they know the future. And then we have individuals, those who are, again, they are the source of suspicion for others sometimes. They're situation readers. They're not palm. They can see something and make something out of it. Stay away from those people. How to detect them, how to recognize them. Anyone who's used these words a lot, I feel, I think, these are the things they a lot, rather than saying, and also I heard, these are the one that you have to stay away from. If they use these statements a lot. I feel this, I've heard this, I think this. Rather than stating the fact, oh, I saw this person with my own eyes. Or I know for a fact that they had failed marriages before. They don't say this. So from the way I look at this guy, he seems like a cheater. That's it. That's all they have to do in your mind to start doubting yourself. Stay away from these people. If you want to have a life without suspicion, if you want to be suspicious of everything and everyone, then just hang out with them. We become like them. We are a reflection of people around us. We become a reflection of people around us. So in summary of my lecture is the danger of buhtan, an accusation in our religion. I talk about the three main causes that leads to accusation, and each of them in our religion there are steps to take to deal with them, to avoid ending up accusing others of something. There is fasiq is a corrupt person. It's someone that their integrity was undermined and jeopardized by themselves. Fasiq. A corrupt person. And they said, how do we know that if somebody is a corrupt and fasiq or not? The tradition said if you're looking for fisq in yourself, that at least inshallah I'm not corrupted to that degree that my integrity is undermined and jeopardized and I've lost integrity and honor. So there are 4 signs for a fasiq. Number 1, the hadith said, which is related to our topic, tuhman, is that fasiq accuse others easily. If anybody comes to you and asks something about someone that you don't know, you just don't say anything. If you said something that you're not sure of, probably you did tuhman. That's it. If you've heard from someone that they heard from someone and they heard from someone, probably it's not true. That's it. So tuhmat is accusation, is the number 1 sign of fasiq. Number 2 is lahw. Interestingly related to my subject, lahw is being wasteful. Doing wasteful acts. Wasting times. With different wasteful activities and things. Number 3, lagv. Wasteful words. Nonsense. People who talk about nothing important. You see, the people are blabbing. You know, it's literally you can replace everything they say with blah, 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 and it makes no difference. Exactly the same thing. That's what a fasiq does. And lastly, idawat. Idawat, number 4, animosity. They have this hatred for some reason. A fasiq has that hatred. That the list of people they don't like is much bigger than people they like. We have people fasiq at the time of the Prophet. They pretend to be Muslims. Right? There's one famous verse in Quran. Man ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu. If a corrupt person brought you a news, they told you something, if they are corrupt, make sure investigate before believing them. Why this verse was revealed? Because Rasulullah sent a so-called Muslim. He's supposed to be Muslim, but he ended up being a fasiq, a corrupt person. He said, go to this tribe and invite them to Islam. He went to the tribe. He came back and said, this tribe, they're not only accepting Islam, they threaten us that they're going to attack us. So we have to go and prepare an army to attack them, to defend ourselves. So he said, let's start a war. And then Rasulullah, based on, this is a Muslim person, we send him, he's the messenger, he brought the news. He ordered for the Red Army to get ready, right? And this verse was revealed. O messenger, if a fasiq came to you with the news, verify it. So what Prophet did after revelation, he sent another messenger, and he came and said, Ya Rasulullah, no messenger went to them. And they were so open and welcoming. So an entire war was prevented and avoided because of that verification. That's what a fasiq wants, animosity. So if somebody brought you a news, oh, I've heard you're brother-in-law said this behind your back, right? Anybody who said, Sheikh Modarres, he said this about you. Your wife said this about you. Verify it. Ask your wife, did you say it? And she says no. If they say no, please let it go. Why? If somebody is regretting what they've said and they say we didn't even say it, this is in Islam known as musamaha. Means maybe they said it, but you ignore it. You let it pass because you don't want him to push him to a degree that they said, yes, I said it and I did it. I stand by what I say and what I said. You want that? You want an additional person against you? Or you want somebody who said something but they regret what they said, that's why they said I didn't say it? Which one is better? Because we have enough people that we have problem with. You don't want to lose a few good people around us over a word. These are the 4 signs of fasiq, a corrupt person. Make sure before looking for fasiq and corrupt people around us, take a look within. Am I causing these problems when it comes to being wasteful of words and activities and actions? When it comes to accusation, when it comes to animosity and hatred that I cause or I have. For some reason, again, if I have a lot of problem with a lot of people, I have to ask that question. Again, I'm not saying be one of those people that they claim that they love everything and everyone, because you have to have principles. You have to stand by something. And that means there are going to be people who don't stand with your principles. That's fine. They're on the other side. They chose to be there. Right? Because some people said, I love Imam Hussein and I love Yazid, both of them equally. I cannot hate anyone. These are the people probably believe in unicorn and all that they exist. In the real world that you live in, there are monsters. There are. And you have to know that where they're standing and where you're standing. But when it comes to average people around us, don't label them as Daesh. Don't label them as Yazid. Don't justify our hatred toward people. In those situations, it's very important to exercise Iman. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help all of us to live a truthful life, a life of Sadiqeen and Siddiqeen. Help us to protect and honor people's integrity, to stay away from tuhma and accusation and cleanse our words and our speech, to have the tawfiq to learn from our marvelous and amazing teachings of our religion that is the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and have the ability to apply and implement those teachings in our daily lives, inshallah. Fatimiyya Majalis will start inshallah on Tuesday. We will have Majalis dedicated to Hazrat Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha. But tonight I will finish with a salam from Dua Tawassul to Hazrat Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha. And if we have time at the end, maybe we can have some questions, and if you have time. Do we have? Yes. So inshallah we will have Q&A and questions at the end. But let's inshallah say the salam to Hazrat Fatima together. May Allah accept our salam and give us the tawfiq to be the za'ir and a visitor of Medina, the city of the Prophet, the city of joy and sorrow of Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله. هدية بيشكوها حضرت فاطمة الزهراء for the honor of Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah. We have time for? Okay. Let's 5 minutes. Okay. Let's see if you have any questions. Okay. Bismillah. If you wait for the microphone, Bismillah.
Would you please explain what is the difference between jealousy and qibta? And in English language, is there any word
Sure.
for qibta?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure. So the word ghibta, so the major difference between these two words, jealousy is when you don't want somebody to have something that you don't have. So let's say if somebody is fortunate, rather than saying, I wish I had what they had, you say, I wish something bad happened to them so they don't have this fortune anymore. And ghibta, which the closest English word to this is when you envy someone. So envious is not always negative. It's also have a, say, I envy you, means, I wish that I had what you had. So let's say if somebody, let's say they have a good child, they have a good son, good daughter, and you say, I wish I have a daughter and a son like you, and you don't want or you don't intend anything bad happen to their children. That's what ghibta or envy is. Ghibta is very positive because you don't want any harm for others, you want something good for yourself. Jealousy, it's very destructive because all you want is that somebody to be as miserable as you are. Rather than lifting yourself up, you want other people to, downgrade and fall into oblivion with you. So that's a major difference. No problem. Any other question? Alhamdulillah. Not really. So if it's not in the same direction that you want to go high like others? No, so it's not ghibta if it depresses you. Because all it is that you said, it gives you that ambition that you wanted to achieve that as well. Let's say, for example, when you see somebody in a high level of knowledge, right? And you see them, and of course there's always this underdog moment, right? That when people feel that they should have done better or they want to do better, there's that a sense of grief, but with it comes the positive push, right? That I want to do something. But if it's just making you feel bad about yourself, that's not ghibta. That's probably just sadness or grief.